Alright guys, let me ask you something. What do you do when the same people who once called you a legend now ignore your calls? What happens when the empire you built with fame, money, and ego turns into a tab you can't afford to pay? Because right now, if your name is Sean Diddy Combs, you're walking through life like a man holding a collection plate, asking for donations to save himself. Reports say he's quietly reaching out to his billionaire friends, the same people who once attended his lavish parties and sat front row at his events. And now he's asking them for help, not to throw a party, not to launch a brand, but for something way more desperate: money for a pardon. Yeah, you heard that right. Word on the street is that Diddy thought he'd be released by midweek, but Friday came and went and he's still behind bars. Sources claim Trump himself made it clear, "I'm pardoning real billionaires, not broke ones." Brutal words, if true, but that's exactly what insiders say made Diddy realize just how far his influence has fallen. See, Diddy's whole image has always been about power. The man who could buy anything, move anyone, and command the room just by walking in. But right now, he's reportedly scrambling to liquidate assets and quietly reach out to old connections. J.Lo's name came up, and so did a few others. People from the top tier of Hollywood and business who once called him a friend. The catch? Diddy can't go public. He can't beg out loud. Not when the world already thinks he's broken, both financially and emotionally. And to make things worse, his inner circle isn't helping. Word is his so-called best friends are now distancing themselves. Even the guards inside allegedly had to break up some kind of altercation involving him, though it's unclear whether he fought back or not. What's clear is that the man who once controlled entire boardrooms is now struggling just to keep his dignity behind those walls. It's almost tragic, Dad. This is the same guy who once bragged about walking into rooms full of billionaires, commanding respect from CEOs and owning the spotlight. Now, according to insiders, he's pleading for mercy from the very people who used to envy him. The irony writes itself. Diddy used to make million-dollar phone calls. Now, he's allegedly begging just to get one answered. And here's the part that stings. People aren't saying no because they can't help. They're saying no because helping him now might hurt them. With his name under investigation and his reputation sinking by the day, aligning with Diddy has become a liability. So while he sits in his cell hoping for a miracle or a phone call from Trump, the same friends he once helped climb the ladder are nowhere to be found. So maybe this is the real cost of power. When it's gone, nobody wants to share the bill. And if these reports are true, Diddy's learning that lesson the hard way. So here's what people are whispering about. Diddy isn't just calling in favors, he's begging everyone he's ever known. Ex-girlfriends? Check J.Lo. Definitely. Sources even claim he's asking Young Miami to put feelers out, trying to reach anyone who might have influence or deep pockets. From former billion-dollar business partners to political allies, he's pulling every string he has left. But here's the million-dollar question. Why isn't he asking his lawyers to give some of that massive retainer money back? After all, those legal fees are rumored to have eaten up more than $20 million. And if the results were supposed to be time served, then maybe a refund doesn't sound that crazy, right? Though if you ask Diddy's attorneys, they'd probably say the money's long gone, spent before he even left court. Still, the irony is hard to ignore. Diddy once stood shoulder to shoulder with the world's richest and most powerful, and now, allegedly, he's the one holding out his hand. Even names like Ron Burkle and the Carters, Jay-Z and Beyonce, have reportedly come up. Though Jay-Z, let's be honest, seems like the kind of man who would just hit block and move on. The two haven't exactly been close in years, and Jay's not one to align himself with chaos. So if Diddy really is reaching out to all these people, how does he plan to pay any of them back? Because let's be real, billionaires don't just hand out millions for free. That's when another theory started making the rounds: Diddy's comeback plan. According to industry chatter, Diddy's hoping to recoup his image and his money by performing overseas, particularly in places like Dubai. Remember when he hinted at a Madison Square Garden comeback? Everyone laughed. Perform what? People said, playing the book, because his last album, the Love album, was a massive flop. And that was before all the lawsuits and scandal. But here's where it gets interesting. Overseas, Diddy still has some pull. There are reports that promoters in Dubai and other international markets might be willing to pay huge appearance fees just for the spectacle. The man's name alone draws attention, even if it's for all the wrong reasons. So the theory goes like this. Diddy's trying to raise quick cash to buy himself some time, hoping to rebuild abroad while his legal situation cools down at home. A few luxury gigs, a few exclusive parties, maybe even a charity concert. It all sounds like something he'd do, and to his loyal followers, that might be enough to believe in a comeback. But reality paints a different picture. He's under financial scrutiny, his accounts are being closely watched, and his reputation in the US is severely damaged. Even if he could perform, the optics alone could backfire, because at this point, every move he makes is seen through the lens of desperation, not dominance. Still, one thing's for sure, Diddy isn't ready to fade quietly. Whether it's pride, ego, or pure survival, he's reportedly trying every angle to rebuild the empire that's slipping through his hands. Apparently, this is the latest plan brewing in Diddy's mind, a plan that sounds part ambition, part desperation. Sources close to him claim that he's convinced his next empire won't be rebuilt in America, but in the Middle East, in the land of billion-dollar skylines and limitless ambition. Word is, Diddy's studying every move being made by major players like Jay-Z, who recently met with royal investors and cultural ministers in Abu Dhabi and Qatar. Those meetings reportedly sparked an idea. If the Middle East is investing heavily in entertainment, sports, and film, why shouldn't Diddy be the one to bring American hip-hop into that world? After all, he once called himself a visionary. And now, with his back against the wall, he believes that vision might be his last card to play. According to insiders, he's been telling people, "Forget the US, I'll rebuild in Dubai." He allegedly believes that in Dubai, a place obsessed with luxury and spectacle, the past doesn't matter as much as the image you project. To him, it's the perfect stage for redemption, a global city that rewards power, reinvention, and the art of pretending everything's fine. Behind the scenes, sources say Diddy's trying to liquidate everything he owns: real estate, cars, even private jets. He's reportedly telling confidants that once he's free, he'll fly straight to the Gulf. No more Los Angeles, no more Miami, he said. According to one insider, it's Dubai or nothing. And in Diddy's mind, it's not just about escape, it's about opportunity. The Middle East is fast becoming a cultural superpower, pouring billions into music, sports, and entertainment. Saudi Arabia's hosting major concerts, Qatar's backing film studios, Dubai's nightlife scene is exploding with high-end residencies. And Diddy believes he can be at the center of it all, as a consultant, producer, maybe even a performer. Some say he imagines himself as the Scooter Braun of the Arab world, the man who could scout talent, build record labels, and create a bridge between Western sound and Middle Eastern ambition. It's a bold idea, maybe even brilliant, if he weren't fighting off lawsuits and financial collapse at the same time. Still, that confidence is classic Diddy. The same relentless energy that built Bad Boy Records, launched his clothing empire, and made him a household name now fuels his fantasy of rebirth overseas. He reportedly believes that the same European jet-set crowd who once partied with him, the billionaires, models, and influencers, still have influence in Dubai's elite circles. And if they do, they might help him return to relevance. He's allegedly already drafting plans for luxury club residencies, private performances, and partnership deals that could pay him millions per appearance. One source even joked that Diddy sees himself turning the desert into his new dance floor. But beneath that humor lies something darker, a man trying to run from his own name. Because the truth is, no matter how far he flies, Diddy can't escape the shadow of what's happened. His brand, once synonymous with success and swagger, now carries scandal and suspicion. Even if the Middle East offers him a fresh start, the world won't forget what he left behind. Still, insiders say he's clinging to the idea. He believes that redemption isn't about proving innocence, it's about rewriting the narrative. And if that means trading Hollywood for Dubai, Diddy's ready to board the flight. They say he's been talking nonstop about the overseas money, the massive investments coming out of Dubai, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. In his mind, that's where the future of global entertainment is being built. And he wants in before the doors close. If he can secure his release within the next year, he allegedly believes he can tap into those networks, help expand them, and in return, rebuild himself and his fortune from scratch. His vision? to live rich, powerful, and untouchable in seclusion. He reportedly believes that once he's out, he can live abroad almost full-time. And though he knows there are laws about international conduct, Diddy seems to think those rules don't bite the same way American ones do. But that's where things get complicated. Because, as many have pointed out, how exactly does a man on 5 years of probation manage to live overseas? Well, apparently, there's a loophole. Legal experts claim that under certain conditions, if your livelihood depends on working abroad, the system can grant exemptions. Here's how it would work. Diddy wouldn't be allowed to officially live outside the US, but he could travel for extended periods, let's say 6 months at a time, under the guise of professional necessity. That means if he signs a legitimate residency deal in Dubai or a multi-city performance contract, he could argue that his income and even his restitution payments depend on it. In that case, federal authorities could monitor him remotely, tracking his income, travel, and communication while allowing him to continue working abroad. On paper, it's all legal. In practice, it would give Diddy exactly what he wants: distance. And that distance might be everything. Because, let's be honest, 5 years of probation in the US means total surveillance. Every move, every contact, every headline, watched, recorded, and questioned. The man wouldn't even be able to sneeze without the prosecution asking for clarification. By working overseas, he could move differently. He could control the narrative. He could build quietly, away from the paparazzi, away from the courtroom spotlight. The idea of rehabilitation starts to sound a lot more appealing when you're sipping champagne on a rooftop in Dubai instead of being tracked in New York City. But there's another angle here too. Some insiders think it's not just about freedom, it's about control. Diddy's always operated best when he's the one calling the shots. If he's forced to stay in America, he'll be living under someone else's watch. If he's overseas, he can create his own ecosystem, his own rules, his own image, his own empire. And honestly, for someone who's built his entire identity around being untouchable, that might be the only thing keeping him going right now. Here's the blunt, uncomfortable truth people are whispering. If Diddy spends most of his probation overseas, many messy parts of his life could quietly fall out of US view. Sources say his team is eyeing jurisdictions where influence, cash, and proximity to power can blunt US scrutiny. In those places, wealth plus local connections can create a protective bubble. A foreigner can move, perform, and run businesses with less immediate oversight. Practically behaviors that triggered trouble at home. Late-night parties, escort arrangements, private encounters could be reframed or deprioritized. People familiar with the region point out local enforcement and social norms operate differently. Expats often have limited legal protections compared to citizens. Complaints by foreign visitors may be handled through discretionary processes, and in some cases, authorities exercise broad powers. That's not a moral judgment, it's an observation about jurisdictional differences. For someone in his position, the calculus is straightforward. If he secures permission to work abroad for extended stretches, residencies, production deals, VIP appearances, he can shift his life away from US control. That would rely on legitimate work contracts and residency agreements that justify long stays. US supervisors could monitor remotely, review earnings and travel records, but the everyday distance matters. Distance might let him rebuild revenue streams restricted at home. High-end residencies and private events in wealthy Gulf markets reportedly pay premium fees, and those earnings could cover legal bills and restitution. Promoters in luxury tourism hubs prize spectacle. An artist's notoriety can translate into big paydays overseas. There's a reputational angle, too. Away from US tabloid churn, he could stage a controlled comeback. Selective shows, curated partnerships, and private business deals that slowly reshape his image. The thinking is, control the narrative in markets that still value his name to generate momentum without US-centric backlash. But real-world frictions remain. First, getting permission to live and work abroad under probation isn't automatic. It involves legal filings, parole approvals, and court oversight. Second, local protections have limits. Foreignness can be both shield and vulnerability. An expat's rights depend on local law and political will, and foreigners have faced serious risks when disputes escalated. Third, reputational hazards travel. Venues and sponsors may pay for spectacle, but international partners are sensitive to public backlash. Brand deals and festivals monitor reputational risk, and controversy can deter local collaborators. Authorities could demand regular reporting, income statements, bank transfers, and proof of restitution payments. Parole officers can require check-ins, electronic monitoring, and cooperation with U.S. counsel. But cross-border finances and private performances add opacity. Promoters often structure deals as private residencies and corporate appearances with layered contracts and local intermediaries that complicate oversight. Still, overseas work isn't a free pass. Reputable festivals, sponsors, and insurers perform reputational reviews and insert conduct clauses. In the social media era, scandals spread quickly. A leaked post or document can prompt cancellations and local backlash. So distance plus cash may buy breathing room and revenue, but it won't fully erase legal duties or public memory. In short, the overseas strategy is a calculated gamble. It buys distance, reduces U.S. pressure, and opens earning opportunities. But it carries legal, reputational, and ethical costs. Sources say Diddy believes the gamble could pay off. Whether it does is another question. So here's where the story wraps up. Diddy's grand escape plan doesn't just end with freedom, it ends with empire. Sources say he's already been pitching bold ideas for when he finally gets out, and they're as extravagant as you'd expect. The word going around is that he wants to launch an entirely new record label in the Middle East, one backed by local billionaires, powerful investors, and entertainment firms looking to globalize hip-hop. The goal? To make the region pop the way America did from 2010 to 2020, to rebuild the kind of musical ecosystem he once ruled. He's reportedly been telling close associates that his comeback won't just be about records, it'll be about lifestyle branding. Think hotels, festivals, exclusive clubs, all under a hip-hop empire umbrella. There's even talk about him wanting to partner with investors to create hip-hop hotels, modeled after the Hard Rock brand, but infused with Diddy's signature glamour, luxury, and edge. It sounds ambitious, even outrageous, but that's always been Diddy's style. Dream bigger than anyone else and make people believe it can happen. But behind that ambition lies something else: desperation. Insiders claim that Diddy isn't just chasing fame anymore, he's chasing redemption, money, and escape. He knows that jail isn't the hardest part. It's the 5 years of probation that could truly break him. The constant supervision, the restricted movement, the endless scrutiny, that's why he's throwing every idea at the wall, a pardon, an appeal, even this global reinvention, hoping one of them sticks. But according to reports, even the pardon that seemed like his golden ticket might be slipping away. Trump, who was rumored to be considering it, has allegedly changed his mind again. Some say the request is still being reviewed quietly. Others claim it's dead in the water. Either way, time is running out and Diddy knows it. For now, he's trapped in limbo, not quite free, not entirely doomed. His team continues to float stories that he'll be released any day now. First Wednesday, then Friday, then the weekend. But as of now, there's been no movement. And as one insider dryly put it, Trump doesn't sign pardons between rounds of golf. So where does that leave Diddy? Waiting, scheming, holding on to a dream that the world may no longer buy. Yet somehow, that's exactly what makes his story so compelling. Because no matter how many walls close in, Diddy always believes he can find a door. Maybe he'll never build those hip-hop hotels. Maybe his empire will stay just an idea scribbled on paper. Or maybe, against all odds, he'll find a way to turn scandal into salvation, to turn exile into a new beginning. Whatever happens next, one thing's certain: the story isn't over. Not for Diddy, not for the people watching, and not for the legacy he's still trying to rewrite. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, because if there's one thing about Diddy, it's that he never stops trying to turn the end into another beginning. Alright guys, you know what to do. Hit the comments, share your thoughts, and tell me if you think Diddy's really got one last trick up his sleeve. I'll catch you in the next one.